Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Book Reviews with You. So today we're going to be talking about The Catcher in the Rye, written by J.D. Salinger, and it was published in 1951. So I'm going to do things differently today. Instead of analyzing specific characters in the novel, or looking at specific events in the plot, or just giving you an overview of the plot, what I'm going to do is basically talk about whether or not The Catcher in the Rye should be censored in classrooms and libraries, and then give you my personal opinion on the book. And then, of course, we'll go to some fan art, because who doesn't like fan art? Right, speaking of censorship, I personally do not believe that this book, The Catcher in the Rye, should be censored from libraries or classrooms. And so what I'm going to do to prove my point is I'm going to present a couple of pieces of evidence for why it should be censored, and then I'm going to demolish those. Okay, so here it goes. So the first piece of evidence that I'm going to demolish for censoring The Catcher in the Rye is one that really bugs me when people use this as a valid reason to ban or censor this book. And so what the point is the fact that the book contains so many swear words and so many cuss words. And I found this website, it's called teenthink.com, and they have this really good article on it, which was titled "Who Banned The Catcher in the Rye and Why?" And it had points for the censorship of Catcher in the Rye and against censorship. And one of its points for it was, and here I'll directly quote them. They said, "The book contains cuss word after cuss word, followed by some immoral statements about ponies. There are rarely sentences that do not have a cuss word." And this satire. And so this really annoys me, because that is not a valid reason to ban this book. Not that I'm not saying that this book is amazing, but I'm just saying that language used inside a book is not a valid reason for it to be banned. And it's not like the audience of this book, which is mainly young adults, adolescents, don't use that language already, and also the language that Holden uses isn't going to rub off on us, or at least that's not been my experience or the experience I've seen of my peers. If anything, we would learn from Holden not to use swear words, because we can, throughout the book, Holden uses this language, and then he regrets it, and Holden uses the language so often that it ends up negatively hurting him. So the reader should understand that, this should be mature enough not to use the language, but also they should be mature enough to learn from the book that the language shouldn't be used. Another reason people choose to censor or ban this book is because of the extensive amount of smoking that Holden does throughout the novel. It's at some points in the book, he smokes as many as 3 packs of cigarettes a day. So personally, I don't think this is a valid reason to censor this book, because Holden, although yes, he does smoke a lot throughout the book, he then realizes that his smoking has had bad effects on him, and him not smoking is better. When he's at this mental institute at the beginning and the end of the book, he says, when he's retelling his story, he says, I got winded very fast because of all the cigarettes I smoked, but now that I've stopped smoking, I'm getting better. So the reader should learn that, smoking isn't necessarily a good thing, it can harm your health, so when you stop, it's good. So I just think it's a matter of maturity, and it's not necessarily a reason to ban the book, because the reader should be mature enough to realize that smoking isn't a good thing. And even Holden says that once he stopped it, his health benefited. So the third and final piece of evidence why people think that this book should be banned or censored from classrooms or libraries is because Holden, at one point in the book, when he's coming back from Pepsi and going to New York, calls upon the services of the prostitute. And I think this is, although I see why some people would think that why this is a bad thing and why it's a reason for this book to be banned, I just don't think it's valid enough. Although yes, Holden does call upon the services of a prostitute, he then chickens out and goes, do you want to talk? Showing that, it's not, if the reader is going to learn any action from Holden, it was not to engage in sexually explicit activities with a prostitute. And that, all Holden does, he doesn't do anything bad, all Holden does is try to talk to this person. And so this is, again, I don't think it's a valid reason to ban or censor this book, because the way the only reason Holden does this is because he's depressed and he's lonely and he wants someone to talk to. It's not because he wants a prostitute. Right now, it's time for my personal opinion on this book. I personally hated this book. It was terrible. It was atrocious. It was so boring. It was one of the worst books I've ever read. Nothing happens in the book. Nothing. I mean, people are like, oh, it's got such a deep meaning. To me, it was so boring. It was just not appealing to me. So, for what I think is, you shouldn't read it. But, you can make your own opinion. So these are a couple of alternative book covers to The Catcher in the Rye. These are all from BuzzFeed.com. They have my citations will be at the end of the video, and I'll put the link in the description below in case you want to go check them out. They're kind of cool. So this is the fan art. I think my favorite one is number 2.